Hey, leaders. Welcome back to the Happy Leader Podcast. I'm your host, Coach T. Payne, and we're going to jump right into this week's episode. Today, we are stepping further into a leadership conversation that is no longer optional: artificial intelligence. And we'll talk about it not as hype, not as a threat, but we'll talk about the responsibility and stewardship of AI. AI is influencing hiring decisions, financial forecasting, risk assessment, strategic planning, so many things. And the question is no longer whether we should use AI. The real question is, how do we partner with AI without surrendering our leadership voice, without surrendering our leadership judgment, and while maintaining our leadership accountability, which is our inherent responsibility as leaders? I recently revisited a research article published in Scientific Reports within Nature Research Portfolio. And that article was fascinating to me. It examined how AI systems shape decision environments through predictive modeling, and it talked about the algorithmic framing. Gosh, okay. I had to take that part out. I recently revisited a research published in Scientific Reports within the Nature Research Portfolio, examining how AI systems are shaping decision environments. And they're doing it through predictive modeling and framing algorithms. One key insight stood out in that article: AI doesn't just assist decisions, it really is shaping the menu of choices that leaders see from which they will make decisions. And that key distinction changes everything. AI shapes the landscape for leaders. When AI curates data, prioritizes metrics, or highlights projected outcomes, when it runs what if scenarios, then what's happening is that the AI is framing what appears to be important for the leader. And what appears important to that leader, to that decision maker, or to those who are influencing the organization, that often drives what gets funded, what's allowed in the organization, what gets rewarded, what gets approved, and what is accelerated. The research in the article cautioned us that AI systems are trained on historical data sets. Historical data sets carry patterns of bias, patterns of imbalance, patterns of exclusion. So while AI may optimize efficiency, it can at the same time reinforce historical limitations or organizational bias. This doesn't mean that we should be afraid of it or stay away from it. All this means is that leaders must ask questions about AI optimization. You should ask questions like, optimize for what? This information from the AI is based on which inputs, because those will affect the outputs. Look at your AI tools and say, which realities are we excluding? Efficiency does not mean that your AI systems are neutral, right? Emotional, well, psychologically neutral or neutral of trends and patterns. Optimization doesn't mean that you've done something better all the time. Sometimes it means that you moved your same process along faster or with less people involved or with less steps. Let me give you an executive case example of what I just explained. The caveat is that not all AI will do this. I'm speaking of a particular instance of how we as leaders can be keen on the best use of AI and not outsourcing a lot of the things that are inherent to us as leaders. Okay, back to the example. There was this mid-sized financial services firm, and they wanted to optimize their hiring process. And so they implemented an AI powered a hiring tool to screen their candidates. Because again, the goal for the organization was efficiency, reduce the time from notification or application to onboarding. They wanted to, at the same time, improve their candidate quality while they lowered their recruiting costs. So they sought out AI. Within months, the AI tool produced some fruit. Leadership noticed something pretty subtle though. The applicant pool was strong, but their finalist pool looked pretty homogenous. So it caused them to look into why would our applicant pool be strong, but our finalist pool, it basically looked the same as we have had before. When they investigated, they discovered something. The algorithm that they were using had been trained primarily on historical high performer. The problem with that is that for their company, historical high performers reflected a very narrow type of profile. So they were essentially training themselves to use their AI to get more of what they already had, which could be good if it's intentional and has purpose, but it can also be bad if that is not the intent. So the AI is a tool, remember. It wasn't intentionally excluding anybody, but it was optimizing based on past patterns, which brings me back to the question we have to ask ourselves in AI and optimization, which is optimized for what? To what end? And that organization, it meant that they had to look at why their algorithm was reinforcing the past patterns and make some decisions, which is what AI can do for us. So they faced a choice. They had to either trust the efficiency metrics, which was one of their goals, right? Reduce the time of getting employees onboarded from their application, or they had to interrogate the framing of their algorithm. So they did what any good organization does when you run into a snafu in your process is you pause. They paused on their implementation and they looked deeper. They brought in cross-functional advisors. They retrained the model with some broader criteria. And then they restored the human review checkpoints in the process. And this is key. What happened as a result of what this company did was they did see a little bit of a slowdown in their efficiency in the short term. But their organizational integrity strengthened, which was also a goal of theirs. This is partnership with AI, not abdication of the organization's responsibilities. The research also referenced what a psychologist calls cognitive offloading. It's a new phrase for me, but cognitive offloading, it says that we as humans will naturally shift mental tasks to our tools. So even if it's navigation systems, think about these systems as I call them out if you use them. Your navigation system, even your spreadsheets. If you're writing your scripts in your spreadsheets, they'll start to take on the output of how you think, which is what tools should do. Dashboards, when you create a dashboard or you use a dashboard and you even move the settings on your dashboard, these tools are going to look like your mental thought process as you use them or as you design them. But there's a warning here about offloading discernment. When leaders begin offloading discernment, we create risk. Discernment requires a little bit of wrestling. It requires that you engage, you go through the rigor of a thought. And AI can help by giving you something like a clean summary so that you don't go through the complexities of gathering data. But if you're not careful, if we are not careful as leaders, we're going to begin, and I've seen it in some places, begin trusting the outputs of AI over your own strategic reasoning and your objective logic. What AI should do for us is accelerate processing. It definitely never should replace discernment. Okay, here's the reality. When AI informed strategy fails, you answer. When AI informed restructuring damages morale, you answer. When AI informed automation eliminates critical institutional knowledge, you answer. There is no scenario where AI can take on the responsibility of the human components of leading. It does not have a moral compass, and you cannot program one into it. The buck stops with the leader. AI, among its many things that it can do, it cannot sit in front of a group of people and account for actions, right? AI cannot restore trust in organizations where trust is lacking. AI cannot carry reputational costs. You do that as a leader. Leadership requires ownership that cannot be delegated to any tool, really, because if it could be, why are you there? This means every AI recommendation must continue to pass through human evaluation. Humans have to take the outputs of AI and put it through a process of thinking and some stress testing, right? You have to stress test the implications of what your AI tool is producing for you. You have to interrogate the assumptions in your AI. Tell it to ask you questions before generating responses, for instance. You as the leader have to examine second order effects. This is leadership maturity in the digital era that we live in. It's not that you can type in your issue into your large language model, take what it says and go do it. Otherwise, again, why are you here? Something that leaders must do as we partner with AI, not shy away from it, is in our leadership voices. So let's talk about your leadership voice and AI. AI can generate structured communication in seconds, but it cannot generate conviction. Your voice as a leader carries your failures, it carries your cultural awareness, your ethical boundaries, your shared and lived out responsibilities. AI cannot do these things for you. You have to live these things for yourself in your own leadership experiences. So if your communication is like really polished, but super detached from the recipient, then good on you for having polished language, but bad on you for not leading. Because in that instance, you're not leading. You have become a distributor of AI information. You're a pass through of other knowledge gathered outside of you. And leaders who will rise in this era are not the ones who are the most automated, the most AI language speaking type people. They're the leaders who are the most anchored, right? Anchored in something, thereby AI can help accelerate what you're doing. It can accentuate who you are, but it won't replace your responsibility to lead. Technology is good because it can expand capacity. And as a leader who doesn't need an increase in capacity, AI gives us that. But your voice preserves the authority that's required. If you're really going to be serious about leading, you have to do so with authority. So here's a framework that I think is good as we partner with AI. The first is to expand. Use AI to broaden your perspective, to consider what ifs, and to think through possibilities from 0 to 100. The second part of this is examine. Question what is assumed, what's not there in your prompt, what's been omitted. Really examine and poke holes in what your AI model is telling you. Filter what you get from AI through your own organizational values, through your culture lens, through the things that you know to be right. And last is own it. Make the final decision as the leader consciously and with an insane amount of transparency. If you keep that sequence that I just outlined, that keeps you in your rightful place as the leader. And it keeps AI in its rightful place as an amplifier of what you are doing. It does not drive what you're doing. So I want us as leaders to think about a couple things. Where in my leadership journey do I need to better integrate the use of AI? And how can I start doing that today with no fear, without hyping up AI to things that it's not? But how can I really lead with AI at the helm? The future doesn't belong to the leader who resists innovation, who runs away from AI because of whatever reason. The future belongs to the leaders who master the tools without surrendering discernment. So, are you using AI to sharpen your leadership? Or are you using it to escape the very necessary discipline of wrestling with concepts and thinking? Because in this next era, speed will be common. AI will ensure that. But anchored judgment will be rare. And rare leaders are the ones who shape the future. If this episode has been helpful, then please talk with your leadership teams about the subject that we mentioned. Talk to them about AI. Evaluate how you're integrating it into your team building. Is it helping you? Is it hindering you? Are you omitting it unnecessarily? And post about it. I really like to hear in the comments what you all are thinking about. Until next time, happy leading.